great vanishing act. It happens quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. One moment they are there, laughing, listening, weaving themselves into your life like a thread pulled through fabric. And then, they aren't. A step back, a hesitation, a breath held just a little too long. And before you know it, they're gone. Not in the dramatic, theatrical sense. No doors are slammed. No rage-filled words are exchanged. Just distance. Messages that go unanswered a little too long. Plans that never quite materialize. The warmth that once filled the space between you now feels like a winter breeze slipping under the door. And you ask yourself, why? Why do avoidants push you away? Why do they disappear the moment things begin to feel real? Why do they pull back when what they claim to want, love, connection, understanding, is standing right in front of them? Today, we will uncover the brutal truth about why avoidants push you away and how to handle it. But be warned, the answers are not easy. They are not pretty. But if you wish to understand them, truly understand them, you must be willing to hear them. So sit, listen, and let me tell you a story. There was once a man. I shall call him James. He was, by all accounts, a fine gentleman, clever, witty, the kind of man who could navigate a conversation with ease, make you feel as though you were the only person in the world when he spoke to you. But James had a secret. He was a master of disappearing acts. Whenever a relationship reached the precipice of something real, something deep, James would pull away. Not suddenly. No, that would be obvious. Instead, it was a slow, almost artistic retreat, like the tide pulling back from the shore, quietly erasing the footprints it once embraced. At first, he would be present, engaged, invested. Then, a shift, a flicker of hesitation in his voice, a missed call here, a forgotten text there. Soon his absence would speak louder than his presence, until one day, without a single word, he was simply gone. I asked James once why he did this, why he pushed people away, even those who clearly adored him. His response was simple but telling. It's not that I don't want love, it's that I don't know how to exist inside it. And there it is. Avoidants do not fear love itself. They fear what love demands of them, to be seen, to be known, to be vulnerable in a way they have spent their entire lives avoiding. Now let me tell you something about avoidance. It does not appear overnight. No one wakes up one morning and decides to fear intimacy. No, avoidance is built over time. Layer by layer, like armor forged in childhood. Perhaps they grew up in a home where love was conditional, given in doses and then ripped away. Perhaps they learned early on that to need someone is to risk disappointment. Perhaps they watched as love turned into obligation, or worse, as affection became a transaction rather than a gift. Whatever the reason, the conclusion they reached was the same. Closeness is a risk. Dependence is a trap. The safest way to be loved is to be just out of reach. And so, they developed a strategy, a way to experience affection without the risk of losing themselves. They learned to enjoy love in small doses, enough to feel it, but never enough to be consumed by it. And when that affection begins to creep too close, when it threatens to expose the parts of them they have spent years protecting, they do what they must do to survive. They run. Now you may have noticed something curious. Avoidants do not push everyone away. Oh no, if they truly wish to be alone, they would be. But they don't want to be alone, do they? No, they want love, so long as it remains at a safe distance. They want to be wanted. They crave the warmth of affection, the comfort of knowing someone is there. But the moment that warmth becomes too real, they retreat. And so, the cycle begins. They pull away, leaving you confused, hurt, questioning everything. And just when you have begun to accept their absence, when you have started to move on, they return. like an actor stepping back onto the stage after the intermission. They reappear with nostalgia in their voice, curiosity in their eyes. A text, a call, a hey, just thinking about you. And you, having missed them, having ached in their absence, welcome them back. You hope this time maybe they will stay. But they won't, because it is not you they fear losing. It is themselves. Now that you know the truth, the brutal truth, the question remains, what do you do about it? Do you chase them? No. Do you beg them to stay? Absolutely not. Do you try to convince them that they are safe with you? A fool's errand. No, my dear listener, the only way to handle an avoidant who pushes you away is to stop moving toward them. You must hold still. You see, the mistake most people make is believing that if they can just show the avoidant enough love, enough patience, enough understanding, the avoidant will finally stop running. But that is not how this works. Avoidants do not stop running because they are caught. They stop running because they choose to. And that choice can only be made in the presence of one thing: space. When you chase, you reinforce their fear of being consumed. When you try to reason with them, you validate their belief that closeness equals control. But when you stop, when you refuse to run after them, when you let them go, not out of anger, not as a tactic, but with a quiet, unwavering acceptance, then, and only then, do they begin to ask themselves the question they have spent their lives avoiding. What am I running from? So now I leave you with this. If an avoidant has pushed you away, do not take it as a reflection of your worth. Do not see it as a failure on your part, nor as something you must fix. Instead, understand this: it is not your job to teach them how to stay. They must learn that lesson on their own. And if they return, if they find their way back, let it be because they have finally chosen to. Not because you lured them, not because you convinced them, but because for the first time, they have stopped running long enough to see what was in front of them all along. And if they don't, then know this: you were never meant to spend your life chasing someone who was too afraid to be caught. If this has resonated with you, if you have seen yourself or someone you love in these words, then stay. Subscribe. There is much more to uncover about love, attachment, and the quiet courage it takes to walk away from what does not serve you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes, a single truth whispered at the right moment can change everything. Until next time, stay wise, stay strong, and above all, stay free.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.